Good morning and welcome to Valley Views. I'm your host, Glenn Edison. We're certainly glad to have you. And we also want to thank BTC Fiber, our host, for having us on their program. You can always see our programs on BTC Fiber YouTube page. Go there and like it and subscribe. So we appreciate you watching our programs. And we also have a Facebook page as well. Go there, like it, and we'll appreciate that very much. All right. Today we have with us Travis Faucett, and he has many things that he does, but we're going to be talking about his Country View properties, I believe this one. And so Travis, it's good to have you first of all.
Well, thank you for having me.
Glad you're here. I want to ask you, with your properties now, that deals with a lot of real estate, correct?
Yes, sir.
And do you have, in your real estate, do you have just homes, or do you have other things as well, businesses? And
we do homes, commercial, raw land. We primarily specialize in raw land sales. About 80% of the business is raw land. The other 20% will be cut up between commercial and residential.
Okay, so that keeps you busy.
Yes, sir, very.
How did COVID this past year affect your business?
Surprisingly, I anticipated it to fall out, but it actually surged in as far as our bottom line and how many folks actually put properties on the market and how many properties actually transferred between owners.
Oh, okay.
It was very, very surprising.
All right. Well, I know it seemed like I've heard that from other industries as well. They thought their business was drop,
Right.
but it actually stayed on level or increased a little.
Right. Now, ours definitely increased, and we're still getting the effects from that. The supply and demand, there's not nowhere near enough supply as there are demand. That's definitely a seller's market right now.
Well, do you get a lot of people that are maybe moving into the area?
Yes, we've got a lot of folks coming in from California, New Jersey, New York, wanting to move down a little bit warmer weather, a little bit less snow, and a little bit less restrictions.
Yeah, I'm sure they're escaping other taxes and stuff.
Yeah. The taxes are a big draw, and everyone here is just so friendly. When they come through, they never forget the Sequatchie Valley.
That's true. I've heard that all my life from people that have come through. They drive through and like the area, and they just want to buy a piece of property because they like it.
Oh, yeah. I always ask them that question, what brings you to Dunlap, and they drove through 111 one time, and they said once we seen the mountains, we had to come back.
Yeah. Well, that's great. Now, your properties, are they primarily here in Sequatchie County, or do you expand through other areas?
I do the whole entire state of Tennessee with my brokerage, but primarily I do a 2-hour radius around Dunlap, and my core business is within Sequatchie County.
So that might keep you on the road then, huh?
Yes, sir. We stay on the road a lot.
Well, that's a good thing.
Yes, sir.
And so your biggest seller has been your land sales, right?
Yes, sir. Land sales have went up, 200% compared to what normal transactions are. So much from folks feeling insecure about the stock market, and they're putting their money into something a little more stable, and some of it's just folks wanting to get away from the city.
Well, wanting to find a piece of property away from everybody.
Right.
Where they can
get out in the rural community and just have a little peace and privacy.
Well, I know it seems like unless you're right here inside the city right here, once you get out a mile or two, it doesn't matter where you're at. You seem like you're in the country,
Right, and you got the amenities real close to you.
Right.
So.
And what has been the biggest draw for people from out of state, like you said, from California, New York, New Jersey? What, they just like the area? Are they just trying to get away?
A little bit of both. They really like the area. And one of the actual really big draws for folks have been, with today's modern day and age, the fiber optics that BTC is putting in is a big plus for folks.
Yes, I imagine that is for a lot of people, because there's more people working at home,
right.
For example, and now there's a lot of virtual learning, and whether it's college or public schools,
right.
or even private schools have done virtual. And so there's more, and so our local fiber company, BTC Fiber, they do a great job, and they're working on expanding what they have.
Right.
It just takes, I know some people, when they want it now.
Right. Everybody's, it's consumable culture for sure.
Yeah, and But they're working on it. I know they're doing a good job working on it.
Most
It
definitely.
just takes some time to run the cables and
Right.
do what they have to do. Well, Travis, how long have you been doing this?
I'm in my 5th year now. I started off just as a realtor, and then this previous year I went ahead and stepped out and formed my own company and opened my own brokerage.
Well, what made you decide to do that?
Well, one thing is I really like my community here, and then I wanted to do things a little bit different than most brokerages do it. I wanted to be not so much focused on making folks numbers, but making them neighbors.
Yeah.
And that was a big thing for me. Personalize my brokerage.
Well, that's a good thing because more. I know I've been here well over 30 years, and just being part of the community, I've become part of the community,
Right.
and everybody treats me just like I was born and raised here.
Yes, sir.
And so I think that's a good thing.
We definitely welcome everybody with open arms, that's for sure.
Yeah.
A lot of folks coming from out of state, that's one thing that really surprised them, how nice everyone is and how welcoming. And I said, welcome to the South, and Dunlap's a great town.
Right, I think they'll be surprised at of course, maybe they don't get it as much in the bigger cities, and maybe like California have a lot of big areas where
Right.
you don't get personal because you can't,
Right.
in a sense. I mean, they do, but they not like
Right.
here.
Yeah, you don't know your neighbor as well.
Yeah, and I know that was one of the first things I learned when I moved here. I'd say, "Oh, so and so," and they say, "Oh, yeah, they're related to so and so," and then they're related, and everybody was
Right.
related to everybody.
Everybody knew everybody.
Everybody knew everybody, whether it's related or not. Well, you said you've been in this about 5 years. What got you interested in doing real estate?
Well, originally I worked for a Fortune 500 company, and I wanted to be able to settle back down in Squatch County because I traveled so much. And I had sold a home and purchased some land, and while I was in the process of purchasing land, I really liked walking the land. I was also a farmer before then, so the land and being a farmer kind of went hand in hand. And I kind of just jumped in head first and been after it ever since.
Well, good. So it's been good for you then.
Been very good. We've been very blessed.
Well, that's great. With the attitude you have, being friendly and just being a part of the community,
Yes.
that works out a lot. Do you have one area that you like better than the others in this business?
Getting to meet different folks all the time is extremely nice, and being a realtor, I'm never in the same place, so there's no monotony in between. The paperwork and everything's always the same, but you get all the different personalities and challenges with every transaction that makes it very interesting, and I really enjoy it.
And I guess everybody wants something a little different.
Right. And then, even down to the fact, some of the people's first question is, it may be 100 acres of ground, and they don't ask anything about the ground, but they ask about the internet and what the amenities are to the property. So it's kind of surprising that that'd be a question right off the bat to me, but to each their own. And it's definitely been a very interesting adventure thus far.
Well, and, a lot of the properties here in the county have they have rock and timber
Right.
and all other kind of things that they can get off of
Right.
that they could sell as well.
And they never look at it as an asset. I always tell them, say, well, you're buying the ground, but the rocks and the trees, just look at that as a savings account, because that's something you can always cash in later if you get on hard times or need a couple extra dollars.
Yeah, and people don't realize that, and there's a lot of money in that.
Oh,
actually.
there's it's a very large industry in our area here is timber and rock. There's a lot of revenue generated from that.
I keep hitting rock when I mow.
Oh, yeah.
I'd like to dig up some myself. Well, how's I know there's several realtors around. How's the competition?
Well,
you say you cover the whole state with your brokerage.
Right. The competition, it's not really competition. We all work very well with one another. Everyone has their preferred realtors that they go to, and we all work really well together. If it wasn't for some of my competitors, there wouldn't be business being generated. everyone that I've dealt with thus far has been great in the valley.
And do y'all work hand in hand? Like if you don't have a piece of property, but you know that someone else does?
Oh yeah, we'll give each other a ring and say, hey, well, we're looking for this. Do you have something of that sort of nature? And they've been really good because not only does that help their client, but it helps our client, and we do that back and forth pretty regular.
Well, that's good because that's another quality of the valley. Everybody works together,
Right.
helps each other. So I like that as well. Do you have I know from time to time I see signs from realtors from out of county.
Right.
Do you have that? Is that big a competition with realtors from out of county?
Not really. There you will see some of the bigger name national brand brokerages that come into the area, but what those brokerages don't know is they don't know our area that great.
Yeah.
And they're not as invested in our community as we are. The national brand brokerages are known by name recognition, but what a lot of folks don't know is we have the same exact tools, technologies, and sometimes we have more tools and technologies than the national brand brokerages. We're all attached to the Chattanooga board, and basically what you're getting into is just name recognition. If you hear several name brand brokerages on the internet or on the radio, you're going to call that by instinct instead of versus using a local realtor or brokerage.
Well, I know a lot of what has always amazed me is some of those realtors would actually guarantee to sell your house,
Right.
or they'd buy it. I'm thinking that's a big guarantee.
Right. Well, a lot of times it don't work out too great for the seller because they'll guarantee they'll buy it, but they don't tell you what price they'll buy it at.
Yeah, and the fact, like you said, you know the area, and
Right.
so you know what, and other people from outside the area,
Right.
they do not know this area, so they may not know certain things about the land.
Right.
As far as
Well, and then even just with the area, when they get moved here, it's a big transition because a lot of times they don't know anyone. We can say, well, hey, go down and see so-and-so at this business. They'll get you took care of, or this is who you need to contact at the county, get
Yeah.
you fixed up with your culvert or what have you, and that goes a long ways being aftercare, because one of the things I pride myself on is, as a realtor and broker, most of it's tied up during just the transaction, but what really helps folks is the after effect. It does not stop when we go to closing. After you go to closing and you're there as a tool and support for those folks, that's a really big plus for folks that's not from this area.
well, good, and well, I think we just answered that. I was going to ask you what do you offer that others don't? Just that personal side.
Right. Getting to the personal side, I mean, throughout the whole transaction, when you first meet someone, you're trusting someone with a very large life purchase that you've never met before. And, doing what you say you're going to do and
Right.
taking care of them through the whole transaction. And after the fact, I've got customers that call me from 5 years ago and say, hey, I need some gravel. Who do I call?
Yeah.
I say, well, we'll get a hold of the Dunlap Stone,
Yeah.
they'll get you took care of. And that's been a big plus for my business.
So really, your business is more than just here, sign on the dotted line. I got this property. You're kind of there with them and saying, hey, well, here's something else you need to take care of
Right.
on your land, even though it's not really your responsibility to tell them
Right.
that, but you do.
That's part of being a good neighbor.
Yeah.
And being invested in our community.
Yeah. Well, that's good. I'm sure, like you said, a lot of people like that in you,
Yes, sir.
and that helps. It gives the community a good name as well.
Yes, sir.
When people can depend on others, and I'm sure you probably get referrals from time to time.
Oh, the number of referrals. We do not do a ton of advertisement. I would say 60+% of my business is off referrals because they say, well, hey, go see Travis. He's still taking care of us after the fact, and that's gone a very long way. And I like to make sure our community looks really good.
Well, what's been your furthest sale from Dunlap outside of the Sequatchie County area?
The furthest right now would be in Brentwood, Nashville area. Which of course that was for some family, and but right now that's the furthest. Right now a lot's going on in the plateau where in years past a lot of folks don't go plateau, but now there's a lot of folks coming in that would enjoy the plateau, especially if they're retiring. And that's becoming some really valuable ground out there.
Well, that's good. I know there's plenty of it out there.
Oh yes,
And,
very large tracts.
Large tracts, small tracts. I mean, it's just there.
Right. Well, and then one thing everyone always looks for when they come to Tennessee is they on a stream or creek. It's pretty hard to buy a piece of ground in our area that does not have a stream or creeks.
Yeah.
I tell them, so you just come on, we'll walk up a piece of ground, you'll see there's plenty of water in there.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
definitely some very gorgeous places here in the Sequatchie Valley and surrounding mountains, and really a hidden gem, in my opinion.
Well, I know I've had many people tell me, even some of my own family from Alabama, who's come up and we'll take them to the Overlook and let them look, and and they just, when they say that, they just
It's to be, I take that for granted. Ever since 111's been open, I've drove up and down 111. My wife was originally from Franklin, so when she comes, she always stopped at the Overlook. And she said, "How you just pass it up here?" And I said, "Well, just being from the area here, I take it for granted, but I still stop even myself every so often, just look out across all the farm fields, and it's a sight to be seen for sure."
Yeah, it's pretty. I have to make sure I keep my eyes on the road.
Oh yeah.
And but that is pretty. It's a beautiful sight there. And well, what kind of tips could you give maybe people who are looking for property, or what kind of tips can you give them to look for and things that they should know ahead of time about? In other words, when they're looking to buy, what
Right.
kind of tips can you give them to keep them on the safe side? In other words, things they should know ahead of time.
As far as that goes, when they come to the area, regardless any piece of property you look at, you always want to be clear on the covenants and restrictions of a piece of ground, and what that limits you to on that piece of ground. Not all ground's restricted here, but there are some pieces of ground that are highly restricted. I always just make sure to check that, because you don't want to buy a piece of ground and then find out that you have to build a house, X amount of square footage, or you can't have your flock of chickens, or whatever animal you want. That is one of the most important things, in my opinion, to look at. And then also one thing to consider, and I always ask folks this, is how far away from Chattanooga you want to be, because the major hospitals in Chattanooga, especially if they're retiring, it's something to consider. You don't want to be an hour and a half away from the hospital if you have an emergency. We have Erlanger here in town, but as far as regular doctor's appointments and things of that sort of nature, make sure to check your radius of the area and how far you want to be out from.
Yeah.
We've got plenty of amenities here in town, but there's more amenities to be had in Hickson and Chattanooga, so a lot of people take that into account.
Well, do you see what kind of age group do you see more coming to the area?
Right now, it's transitioned from folks retiring to young folks anywhere from 20 to 35. There's been a lot of new families moved to the area, and that's boosting our number of kids down here at schools. And it's really surprising how many young families are moving to the area, and individuals too.
And are they, when they come, do they have jobs? Or are they looking for jobs?
Most of the time, they've already set up the transition to work. I would say 30% of the time they are looking for jobs, and we always send them down to the chamber if they're looking for local work here. And then the remainder of them, I usually already have to transfer into the area.
Well, do you see when people like from California and New York, when they come here, I know they notice the price difference.
Right, that's a big plus. The first thing they notice is the property taxes. That is, it just blows their mind, the difference between California and Dunlap, Tennessee. And as far as even, the cost of living being so much lower, and that has been a huge plus for them and their transition to our area.
Well, I know in some of those states pay thousands of dollars in property tax.
I had one individual that came out of New Jersey, and his property tax is around $25,000 a year for half an acre and just a little old house. And I said, that's almost highway robbery.
Yeah.
I was very surprised to hear that amount, and one, I don't know how anyone would be able to afford that much on just that small piece of ground, but just what he had saved in property taxes coming to the area, paid his mortgage note and his regular taxes for the year here. So he was very happy about that.
Well, I imagine that's been a big pull for the area as well, hadn't it?
Right, and then there's tons of work in this area, so a lot of folks are coming from all over the country, and we've got a lot of good self-employed folks that are moving the area, and a lot of folks that are going to be working for corporate chains or businesses, and locally here as well. So there's definitely, if you want to get out and work, there's always plenty of work to be had.
Well, do you see the people that are coming in? Do you see different types of jobs that they have or skills they have that's different from what we have around here?
We have a pretty good wide variety of what folks do here in the area. There have been some very specialized things moving to our area, and but for the most part, they all bring their own set of skills and what they know, and that's just something that helps us as well, is when they bring in a new skill or knowledge, or say they bring in their own business here locally, that's going to create jobs for the community. And so I'm always trying to promote, if folks want to open a business in the valley, come on, we'll welcome you with open arms.
Right. Well, that's good. And well, with all the various talents, it just adds to our community.
Very much so.
Adds to what we can offer as well.
Right.
And what do you see? I guess maybe we've already answered this, but this continues to grow where people are just constantly. Do you have a lot of other people that are constantly looking or contacting the area?
Oh yeah, they put a filler out in the area, and the biggest thing is going to be is me and my competitors. We're the first line of communication generally in the area, especially if they have not been in the area, and they're very pleasantly surprised when they talk with us. How welcoming we are, and the southern hospitality, and that's a big draw for them. And then so once they get to there, they just absolutely fall in love with the valley and the mountains, and but that very first line of communication is important, because we're going out as representatives of our community, and we don't want to leave a bad taste in someone's mouth, and say, well, don't go Dunlap, that guy's horrible. But that'll happen occasionally. You can't keep everyone happy, but it is very important to the folks looking to come to our area.
Well, one thing we haven't discussed, have you had any business people, like business owners, come to there and look for?
Yes, they are beginning to look. We have several amenities here in town, but you can always have more amenities, and that's one of the things I'm striving for, is different restaurants and groceries to come move into the area that'll benefit our business, our community here. And then on the flip side of that, I'm doing that from the real estate side, but I'm also a member of the Industrial Development Board, so we're always looking for commercial businesses to move into the area, promote jobs here in the valley, so not so many folks have to go to Chattanooga every day for their jobs.
Good. Well, one thing we haven't mentioned, Travis, is if someone's interested in looking for some property, how do they contact you?
You can usually call me on my cell phone's best line of communication, or go to my website, countryviewproperties.org, and generally I'll answer my phone. Now, if they don't get an answer, usually I'm out in the boonies, may not have cell phone reception, because like I say, 2-hour radius, there's a lot of places I go way out on the plateau where service is not great with cell phones yet. But generally give me a buzz, and that's the best way for me to answer.
Well, anything you want to add that we haven't said before we close?
Can't really think.
Well, yeah, it's been very informative. So, folks, that's Travis Faucett at Country View Properties. There we go. I'll get it right. And we appreciate you watching. And remember to check us out on BTC Fiber YouTube page, as well as Channel 18 on the local cable channel. And you'll see these interviews and these programs on a regular basis. And we thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time. Hey everybody, this is Glenn Edison from Valley Views. We appreciate you watching our shows, and we would like for you to like, share, and follow us on Facebook, as well as like and subscribe to our YouTube page.
Brought to you by Bledsoe Telephone Cooperative, your full-service telecommunications provider right here in the Sequatchie Valley.